Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central this evening with another edition of Doc Ock at noon and 9. We hope everybody's out there feeling real fine because we got a good presentation for you tonight. Something that will lift up your spirits and make you want to jump for joy. Just jump for joy. Here we go now. Boom. We're going to get this together here. All right. So you know the deal. You know what we're looking for y'all to do right about now. And that is to go ahead and give us a like. If you're looking at us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and then go ahead and spread the word far and wide to your friends, your family, and relatives as well about what we do here at Black Facts Headquarters Central. Now, tonight, this month, we're featuring stories related to Juneteenth. So we're going to be telling a lot of stories about Juneteenth and people who have made a difference in the lives of Black people, not just in the USA, but all over the world. And tonight, we're going to be featuring the story of Miss Althea Gibson, who is one of the most dynamic and hard-hitting individuals that's ever come out of the Black community. And I just hope I can get these images to come up here the way I would like. They seem to be giving me a little bit of difficulty with our slideshow today. Let me see if I can get this to work out properly. Now see, it works good there, so it should work over here. Let's see if it does. Boom. There. But it keeps going back to that. I don't understand why it does that. That's strange. Okay. So I'll just have to fix it. All right, now that I got that fixed, now it looks like we're all up in the mix and we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get on with the getting on, see if we can get this show on the road here. Our proverb for tonight is, let's see what we've got as a proverb for tonight. Okay. All right, here's one right here. This one I like because it reminds me of one that I grew up saying as well. We like to say, if he hollers, let him go. But in other parts of the world, like say for instance in Ethiopia, where would you think I'd be getting a proverb from? People often like to say, unless you call out, who will open the door? Unless you call out, who will open the door? All right. And so that's an Ethiopian proverb for you this evening. Now, moving on to our story. Now, you know, I always like to read stories by the person themselves. So for noon, right now, we're going to be reading the story of Winnie Mandela. Part of my soul went with him, speaking about her husband, Nelson Mandela, former president and revolutionary in South Africa. All right. But tonight, we're going to be reading about Althea Gibson from her story, I Always Wanted to Be Somebody. Ain't that something? That's some kind of title, ain't it? Like she wasn't somebody, when she was born. But at any rate, that's the title to her book, and we're going to be reading from that tonight. So, featuring Althea Gibson, born August 25th, 1927, passed from this life into the next life on September 28, 2003. And let me just make sure I got that on there. Good. Now, Althea Gibson, she says herself that she grew up as a tomboy. And I've heard that from more than one woman, even some of my own relatives, that they grew up as tomboys. Often that happened because you had older brothers. In Althea's case, in this instance, that wasn't true of Althea, but she had a dad, and her dad wanted to make sure that Althea could take care of herself. So at first he thought he might be able to turn her into a boxing champion. And when that didn't pan out, then because they made female boxing illegal at that time, then he just decided to just keep on teaching her how to box just in order to defend herself, because they lived in New York City. And New York is a hard nut to crack. So that's the long and the short of it. Let's go ahead and get into it. The name of this chapter number 1 in the book of Althea. I always wanted to be somebody. I guess that's why I kept running away from home when I was a child. Even though I took some terrible whippings for it. That's why I took to tennis right away and kept working at it. Even though I was the wildest tomboy you ever saw, and my strong likings were a mile away from what the tennis people wanted me to do. That's why I've been willing to live like a gypsy all these years, always being a guest in other people's houses and doing things the way they said. Even though what I've always wanted is a place of my own with nobody to answer to but myself. That's why, even since I was a wild, stubborn girl in my teens, I've worshipped Sugar Ray Robinson. It wasn't just because he was a wonderful fellow and good to me when there was no special reason for him to be good to me. It was because he was somebody. I made up my mind that I was going to be somebody too if it killed me. That's a powerful little statement she's making right there. If it killed me. If I've made it, it's half because I was willing to take a wicked amount of punishment along the way, and half because there were an awful lot of people who cared enough to help me. Not many people knew the real story of my life before I got into the newspapers. I'm going to try to put it all down here, just the way I lived it and just the way I remembered it. I never said, and just the way I remember it. If you get to thinking it wasn't all pretty, remember, I never said it was. They tell me I was born on August 25, 1927, in a small town in South Carolina called Silver. I don't remember anything about South Carolina. All I remember is New York City. But my daddy talks about it a lot. He describes it as a 3-store town, meaning it wasn't as small as towns that only have one store for all the people. But it wasn't very big either. My father Daniel and my mother Annie both lived in Silver. Daddy tells everybody while we were courting, I used to walk a mile over the bridge to see her once a week. Every Sunday night I went. And if you ask him how come he went to see Mom only once a week, he laughs and says, very simple, because that's all her people would allow it. That's why. After they got married, my mother and father lived in a little cabin on a cotton farm. Daddy was helping one of my uncles sharecrop cotton and corn, and there was plenty of hard work to go around. Daddy is a very strong man, and Mom is a strong woman. They had no trouble doing the job. Mom is the first one to say that she was no delicate flower in those days. She used to love to ride. And because there wasn't much chance of her going to a riding stable, she used to ride not only horses, but cows, hogs, and everything. Sure, she told me once, I'd jump on that cow or that hog just like it was a horse. I believe I really could do some of that right now. I believe she could too. She looks 10 years younger than she is, and she's in shape. I was no weakling myself when I was born. I was the first child in the family, and I weighed a solid 8 pounds. You were what you call a big fat one, Mom says. It's too bad I wasn't big enough to be of some help on the farm. They could have used me. Daddy and my uncle only had 5 acres of land, and they never had a chance of making out. Even if things had gone well, they couldn't have put anything by. But when bad weather ruined the crops 3 years in a row, they were in bad shape. I worked 3 years for nothing, Daddy says. That third year, all I got out of it was a bale and a half of cotton. Cotton was selling for $50 a bale then, so I made $75 for a year's work. I had to get out of there, and when Mom's sister, Sally Washington, came down from New York for their sister Blanche's funeral, I made up my mind it was time to leave. What Daddy did was agree to let Aunt Sally take me back to New York with her on the understanding that he would come up a couple of months later and get a job. And then, as soon as he could, he would send for Mom. He came as soon as he got the cash for his bale and a half of cotton. I bought me a cheap blue suit for $7.50. He says I paid $25 for the fare. I left some money with the wife and took off for New York City. I never got tired of hearing Daddy tell about what happened to him when he got off the train in New York. He'd been talking to this porter on the train, telling him how bad things had been in South Carolina. And when the train pulled into Penn Station, he asked the porter how to get to Harlem. The porter said it was pretty hard even for somebody who knew his way around the city, but that he could spare an hour to guide him if Daddy wanted to pay him $5 for his time and his trouble. Daddy agreed, and the porter took him over to the subway and got on with him. After about 20 minutes, he let him out on the sidewalk at 125th Street and said, "Here you are, Mr. Gibson. This here is Harlem." And so Daddy started his life in the big city by paying $5 for a nickel ride on a subway. But that was all right, I remember Daddy saying at a party once. It didn't make no difference. I got me a job right away, handyman in a garage for big money, $10 a week. I didn't have nothing to worry about no more. I sent for my wife, and we were in business. We all lived together in Aunt Sally's apartment for quite a while before Daddy and Mom got an apartment of their own. I was only 3 years old when Aunt Sally first brought me up with her, and I don't remember very much about what it was like at her place. I do know she made good money selling that bootleg whiskey. Now, I don't think she actually made this stuff. I think she just sold it. I know one thing, there was always lots of food to eat in her house. The rent was always paid on time, and Aunt Sally wore nice clothes every day in the week. She did all right for herself. There was one time when her business was bad for me. I was in my bedroom sleeping, and Aunt Sally was in the parlor with some company. I woke up feeling awful thirsty, and I got up to get a glass of water in the kitchen. I noticed a big jug on the kitchen table, and it looked good. So, without even thinking twice, I grabbed it and turned it up. The next thing I can remember is Aunt Sally holding me down in the bed while the doctor pumped my stomach out. According to Daddy, that was far from the last time in my kid days that I put away a lot of whiskey. Some of my uncles and some of the other men who came to see Aunt Sally used to take me out with them for the afternoon, and naturally, they would always end up drinking whiskey So would I. They gave it to me in a water glass and without any water in it either. Daddy claims that I never used to get drunk, but that when I got home, he had to get all the whiskey out of me. I don't ask him anymore how he did it, but I have a dim memory that it has something to do with sticking two of his fingers down my throat. I don't remember this kind of childhood. I don't recommend this kind of childhood training, but I will say one thing for it. I don't think I'll ever disgrace myself by getting drunk in public. When I was about 7 or 8, I went to Philadelphia to live for a while with my Aunt Daisy Kelly, who lives in the Bronx now in New York City. I stayed with Aunt Daisy off and on for a couple of years, and I must have given her plenty of trouble, although now she just makes it all sound kind of comical. I've heard her tell one story 100 times, and no matter how funny it sounds now, it must have been a sore trial at the time. Aunt Daisy had a friend who owned a secondhand automobile, and I admired the car and him very much. I used to follow him around everywhere. This particular morning, Aunt Daisy said it was Sunday, and I'd got you all dressed up in a beautiful white dress with white stockings and even a white silk bow in your hair. Then I let you go out. You were gone a long time, and after a while, I began to get worried. So I started looking out the window for you, and there that man was working on his car, and he had an open bucket of grease standing on the sidewalk next to it, and you were jumping across the bucket, first from one side and then from the other. And sure enough, just when I was getting ready to scream at you, you slipped and fell right in the daggone bucket. You look like Amos and Andy. I couldn't get that last bit of grease off you for days. And the dress, I just had to throw the dress out. Another day, Aunt Daisy says, when I was gone a long time, I finally came around the corner with a great big branch of a tree in my hand and two boys running after me as hard as they could run. According to Aunt Daisy, just when it looked as if they were going to catch up to me and really give it to me, I turned around and started swinging that branch on them. You just hit them and hit them, she says. I started out being scared that you would hurt them bad. I could always take care of myself pretty well. That's a fact. I think the worst fright I ever gave Aunt Daisy was once when she and my cousin Pearl were going somewhere in a friend's car and I wasn't supposed to go. I kicked up a storm and then quietly made up my mind what I was going to do. When the car pulled up at the house they were going to and Aunt Daisy and Pearl got out, I was standing on the sidewalk. I had made the whole trip standing on the running board and holding on to the door handle with my head ducked down underneath the window so nobody could see me. But I didn't start getting into real trouble until the Gibson family settled into a place of its own. The apartment on West 143rd Street in which my mother and father, my sisters Millie and Annie and Lillian and my brother Daniel still live. I was a traveling girl and I hated to go to school. What's more, I didn't like people telling me what to do. Take it from me, you can get in a lot of hot water thinking like that. Okay, and I'm going to break off right there because that's a good place to break at. Just break it off right there. Boom. And we'll pick this up tomorrow night. All right? Tomorrow night we'll pick up from where we left off there, reading about the story of Althea Gibson. I always wanted to be somebody. Reminds me of what Jesse Jackson used to like to say all the time. I am somebody. And we all know that Althea Gibson was somebody. She was somebody even when she didn't know she was somebody, but even more so as she grew older and came into her own. So, y'all know what time it is, and you know what you need to do. So all you little children, you know what time it is. I don't have to give you a quiz. Even if you're not a whiz, you know you need to lay your little head down on your little pillow, on your little bed, and close those eyes. When you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, that's when it'll be time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. But in the meantime, what I need you to do is sleep tight, sleep right, and don't let those bed bugs bite. As for you adults, couple things you need to do. Number one, give us a like if you're watching us on Facebook. Number two, give us a thumbs up if you're watching on the tube. And number three, become a sustaining member of the Black Facts family, which is so easy to do. Just go to our website, blakfacts.org. You can easily find the coordinates to the website right below. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it down there in the description below the video. If you're looking on Facebook, then you can just donate by going to the notifications if you're doing it on your phone, and if you're on your laptop or your pad, then just look right below the live stream and you'll see a link down there where you can donate. Or even easier, just click my profile picture. If you see the coins next to it, click the profile picture. That'll also take you to a donate button. So I gave you about 4 different ways to do it. Pick one, do one. $5 a month would be great. $10 would be better. And 20 would put us in the money. All we need is 1,000 people to do likewise. And we will be in clover. Thank you very much, because this show is over. Peace out without a doubt. Of course, with justice, because anything less disgusts us. And I'm going to wave over here to Alfred. And then we're going to go ahead and do our extro. Peace out, y'all. We'll be black tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Excuse me, at noon. High noon. Look for us at noon Eastern Standard Time with some brand new rhymes.